Rosemary, and it's the end of February, which means it's time for my summer book haul. I'm going to be showing you all the books I acquired between the start of December and now, which is the end of February, and there are a lot of them. I have 26 books that I acquired this season, which is, it's a lot for me, but I am happy to say that a decent number of them are audiobooks and ebooks, which is great. So let's just get into it. I will try to be brief, but we'll see how I go. Let's kick things off with the audiobooks. I had 4 Audible credits that I needed to use in December, so I grabbed 4 audiobooks. First was Peter Darling by Austen Chant. This is quite a short book. I think it's only like 5 hours long, the audio. I don't know a huge amount about it except that it's a Peter Pan retelling with a trans male character, main character. I believe the Peter Pan character is the trans male character. Next was Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I know this is the first in a science fiction trilogy. It's quite a popular one, and I don't know a huge amount about it except that I've heard good things about it, so I decided to give it a go. Even though I typically don't listen to fantasy or science fiction because I find the information harder to retain if I'm hearing it, but I guess I decided to try this one. It's a science fiction. I know it involves some kind of spider arachnid type alien creature. That's the extent of my knowledge. I also grabbed The War of the Worlds, which is based on a novel by H.G. Wells of the same name, War of the Worlds. It's a very well-known classic science fiction novel, but the version I picked up was the musical drama adaptation by Jeff Wayne. So this audio production is based on I believe it was like a live musical stage production that was done by Jeff Wayne in the late 70s. And so this was a audiobook version of that. It had a full cast, a musical backing, sound effects, all that stuff. I grabbed it mostly because of the cast. So the 2 main actors in it, I suppose, were Michael Sheen, who plays the journalist, who's the main character, and Taron Egerton plays the artilleryman, who's one of the soldiers who gets sent out to deal with the Martians before it all goes wrong. I wasn't super impressed with the musical version. I haven't read the original, but I think this is a good version if you sort of want a overview of the story and the characters, but I didn't love the music. I felt like often it sort of overtook the acting, which was phenomenal, I will say. It felt like the music became the point when it shouldn't have been. It also felt very dated, like there was a lot of electric guitar riffs, so it sort of felt like we were back in the 80s, which was weird. So it was fine. The last audio I picked up was Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I, The Mother and Daughter Who Changed History by Tracy Borman. This is a non-fiction title that explores the, I guess the influence that Anne Boleyn had on her daughter Elizabeth I, despite the fact that Anne was executed while Elizabeth was very young. I think she was maybe 3 or 4 when Anne died. I am trying in 2024 to read more non-fiction, more non-memoir non-fiction, and audiobooks seem like the best way to do that. So this seemed like a good one to start with because I know a little bit about Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I already, and I know about that time period. So rather than trying to start with something that I don't know anything about, I thought it might be a better plan to go in with something that I have at least a basic understanding of already. That's the hope anyway. We'll see how it goes. On to ebooks. The first one was one of my annual purchases, the next book in Seanan McGuire's Wayward Children series, Mislaid in Parts Half Known. And this is a series of portal fantasy novellas about young people who go through doors into strange worlds and come back and have to deal with the ramifications of that. This is the second last in the series, and I didn't love it. It sort of just felt like an extended resolution of the previous book, which already had its own resolution anyway. This one was a letdown, which was sad because the previous couple of books had been a step up for the series again. I had hopes for this one, but they just didn't quite come together. The Wolf at Bay by Charlie Ihara. This is the second in the Big Bad Wolf series. I read the first one last year, and one of my goals for 2024 is to finish more series that I've started, and this is one of those series that I've picked. So this is book 2 of 5, and it's basically it's an urban fantasy series about a man whose name I can't remember at the moment, but he is a investigator with the branch of Special Investigations, I believe, which is a part of the FBI that deals specifically with werewolf-related crime. And in book 1, he goes to investigate some murders in a small town, but this investigator gets partnered up with a werewolf whose name is Oliver, and they are from rival departments. Oliver's sort of like from a different government agency, and it's a mystery, but it's also got a romantic subplot between the two characters, and it's got werewolves. I was really impressed with book 1. I bought it on a whim, and actually it was really good. I burned through it in like a couple of days. So I'm gonna continue the series. Hopefully book 2 is as good as book 1. We Could Be So Good by Kat Sebastian. I don't know a huge amount about this one. I know it's a queer romance set in the 1950s between a reporter, like a newspaper reporter, and the son of the man who owns the newspaper. It was described on Goodreads as Casey McQuiston meets the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love Casey McQuiston. They're one of my favorite authors, and I really enjoyed Evelyn Hugo. So, mash them together. Sounds like it could be a good book. The last ebook is That Special Something by Erin McRae and Rashlyn Maltese. I've read several books by these authors in the past. I haven't loved their standalone books, but they do have an ongoing series that I've really enjoyed. So I grabbed this one in the hope that this is one of the good ones. It's about a young woman who experiences a cycling accident in New York City, and while she's recovering, she moves to a small town in Maine and opens a donut shop, I believe. While she's there, she meets the star of a TV show that films in this small town, and they start up a romance. I believe it's an age gap romance. I think he's in his mid-40s and she's in her mid-20s. And it's also got the celebrity factor, so he's famous and she's just some normal person. So those are both tropes that I typically enjoy, and I know that these authors have written books that I've liked in the past, so hopefully this is a good one. Let's move on to the physical books. We'll start with books I received in book boxes, because we've seen those before, or you should have if you watch my unboxing videos. Let's start with Bewitching a Highlander by Roma Corden. This is the book I received in the November Unplugged box, but it arrived in December. And it's I can't remember if it's a historical book, but it's a Highland romance about a woman who goes to Scotland, and of course she meets a Highland clan chief, because don't they all? I think she's also trying to find information about her father, who might be missing or maybe is dead or something. I can't fully remember. But I suppose this clan chief helps her do that, and they fall in love along the way. I received this enormous but beautiful book for the Unmarked series by Miranda Lynn. This is a complete volume of the series. So it includes the 2 books in the series. It's a duology plus the Christmas novella at the end as well. I can't fully remember what this one entails. I believe it's about a young woman who is a witch, but she doesn't have the witch markings on her body. And she, I think, when her coven leader, or maybe her grandmother or something, is killed, she has to go and find the guy who did it, like the Dark King or something. And I suppose it's an enemies to lovers romance. Yeah, like I said, I don't remember a huge amount about this one, but it did sound good. Hopefully I'll enjoy this one. If not, it'll be a great weapon for self-defense. I also ordered the Romantasy limited edition box from Unplugged, which included the King and Coven series by Madeline Elliott. So it's got all 3 volumes in it: To Hunt a Demon King, To Break a Demon Curse, and To Wear a Demon Crown. This is a Little Red Riding Hood inspired story about a witch, another witch, lots of witches recently, another witch who is part of a coven, but her mother is keeping her not keeping her a secret, but keeping her away from the coven, which is led by this woman's grandmother. This character has to go and, I suppose, do some witchy thing in the dark woods, and she meets the Demon King, who is from a neighboring I don't know if it's a country, because I think they're all part of the same country, but their lands are separated by a dark forest. So there's that. I did read a couple of pages of the first book. I think I read the first chapter, and it was fine. The main character is 25, or just about to turn 25, but the writing and her dialogue and her internal narration made her sound very young, like mid-teens, which was a bit off-putting. Also, there's something going on where the main character has been kept away from the coven by her mother, and the mother is clearly doing it for a specific reason. And the main character is like, won't you just tell me what this reason is? And her mother's like, I'll tell you on your birthday. But the birthday is 2 days away. So, I don't know, it just seemed a bit weird. If you can tell me in 2 days, why can't you just tell me now? But also, it's clearly doing that thing where the characters are just withholding information from each other just for the plot, which is annoying and a bit lazy if you ask me. But I'm still going to give it a go, mostly because I bought the box and this whole series came in it and they're really nice. And I want to be able to keep them. I want to like them enough to keep them. But if I don't, then I'll have to donate the books because they take up quite a bit of space. And I don't want to do that because it looks so nice. So hopefully I enjoy this series. Then I ordered a one-off box from BookBox AU. I'd never ordered from them before, so this was a bit of a test run. I will link the unboxing video if you haven't seen it, because I had some things to say. But basically, they curate your box based on the answers you provide to a survey. And I wasn't super happy with the books I received. I received This Poison Heart by Callan Bayron, which is a young adult story about a girl who has some sort of generational flower magic or something. And I also received Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury, which is about a teenage witch. It's a young adult novel. She's a teenage girl who needs to go through this witch trial to come into her power, but to do that she has to go and find a first love because she hasn't had one yet. So I received these books, and one of my criticisms of the box was that I listed my age group as adult 18 plus, and I didn't list young adult books as a preference for what I wanted to receive, and yet I received 2 young adult books. But then the people at BookBox AU reached out to me. They read my feedback that I sent them with the form, and they watched the video that I released, which was super weird. And they basically said, hey, sorry that the books didn't really meet your criteria. We're going to send you 2 new books as well, which we hope will suit your tastes better. And they did. So that was super nice of them. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't contact them in any way. They just did it. So, that's pretty good. So they sent me The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. This is set in Dublin. I think it's a contemporary novel. I don't think it's historical. But there are these 3 characters who feel like side characters in their own lives. And then they find a magical bookshop that is described as a vanishing bookshop, so I suppose it comes and goes. And they get transported to a different world, or so it seems. I've never heard of this book, I've never heard of this author, but I'm intrigued. It sounds like a adult urbanish fantasy, and I'm quite keen to give this one a go. The second book I received was Beyond the Hallowed Sky by Ken MacLeod. This is a science fiction novel about a scientist who gets a letter from herself in the future. So a future version of herself sends a letter back to her in the past. And in this letter, she describes the equation for faster than light travel, which allows time travel, as well as, the ability to travel to distant galaxies and things like that, because you can travel faster than light. But the thesis and the paper that she writes based on this equation in the present is wildly discredited by experts in her field, and she's basically made a mockery of. And then I guess she has to go and build a starship for some reason. That's what the blurb is telling me. And then, of course, there's a secret that is uncovered that will shake humanity to its foundations. So who knows what that could be. Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the second book in the Shepherd King duology. Book one was One Dark Window. It's about a young woman who has basically an evil spirit living in her head, and he's called the Nightmare, and he gives her these powers, but also protects her, and helps her through danger. It's not completely selfless. Like, if she dies, then he dies. So, he needs her to live. But he's just a really cool character. I didn't love the main characters in book one. I thought the romance happened very quickly. But I really liked the plot, I liked the magic, and the atmosphere was really good. So I grabbed book two, and I actually started reading it last week, but then a couple of days ago I DNF'd it. I got about halfway, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't the same. It was really prioritizing a secondary romance story, as well as using the romance from book one to justify a character's actions in this book. But it was hard for me to grasp because, not hard to grasp, but hard to accept, because for me, the romance in book one, like I said, happened really quickly. So I was like, why? You've known this woman for like 3 days. Why are you suddenly in love with her? It was a bit of that. It also took quite a long time for like the main plot to kick off. So it's just a bit disappointing. I also grabbed Dark Water Daughter by H.M. Long. I think this is a pirate story. I can't remember a huge amount about it. It's about a young woman named Mary Firth, who is a storm singer, which means she can control like weather with her magic. And she is, well, I'll just read it to you. Faced with servitude to pirate lord Sylvanus Lear, Mary offers her skills to his arch rival in exchange for protection and helping to send Lear to a watery grave. And there is a disgraced naval officer who is also trying to capture this pirate lord, and they come into contact with each other in some way. I don't fully know if this is a young adult book, or if it's an adult book, or if it's a new adult book. I don't know. On Goodreads, it's tagged as all three. I am sort of hoping that this is not a young adult book. I did sort of read a couple of the first pages, and again, it's not super clear. Maybe the main character is just younger, and then she ages throughout the series. Yeah, it's just hard to tell. So, I don't really know what age group this is for, but regardless, hopefully I'll enjoy it. I received 2 books from my friend Beck. I'll leave her channel linked below if you'd like to check her out. So she brought me a book for both my birthday and for Christmas, which she wasn't supposed to do, but she did it anyway, so thank you. So one of those was For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, which is I think it's like a fairy tale-esque story. It's the first in a duology, about a young woman who has to go into the woods and is given to a wolf or something. I don't really know, but it's clearly a Little Red Riding Hood inspired story. And I really hope I like it. I've read one of Witten's other books, and I really liked that one, so I'm keen to give this series a go. I heard book 2 is better than book 1, but we'll see. And then the other book that Beck got me was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is a young adult historical fiction romance, I believe, set during World War One. I think there's like a magical element to it with these 2 characters writing letters back and forth to each other. I think they're rivals as well, but I don't fully know. I just know that this book was very popular online last year, I saw a lot of people really enjoyed it, and the second book has recently come out, so good timing. So I bought The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is a like rivals to lovers fantasy romance with vampires. It's about a young woman who is the only human in a vampire court. She is the adopted daughter of a vampire king, and she enters a to the death tournament to gain more power for herself, basically. And while she's there, she meets a guy who is a vampire, and they're rivals because they both want to win, but they have to work together, and of course they fall in love along the way. I didn't love this book. I think I gave it 2 stars, which was a surprise because everyone that I saw seemed to enjoy it, and I didn't. Just to end things, I received a number of books that I had pre-ordered and they finally published. So we'll start with the one that I forgot about. Last year I backed a book on Kickstarter because it was I guess advertised by a number of authors whose books I like, and they were all very complimentary about it. So I thought, well, if they liked it and I liked their books, then surely I will like this one. So I did it on a whim, and then I forgot about it, and then it arrived like a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So that is The King Killing Queen by Sean Speakman. It's very nice to look at, first of all. It's also got a signature on it, because I backed the Kickstarter. Really nice red foiling on the hardcover. This is a fantasy about a woman who is, I think, the sister to the king, and when he dies, she is unexpectedly named his heir. And then I guess other stuff happens after that. I don't know what. It probably sounded interesting when I backed the Kickstarter, but it's been so long that I've forgotten all the details. It's not super long though, so that's encouraging. It's also the first in a series, but I don't know how many books are planned for it. I also got a couple of other items because I backed the Kickstarter, including this pin, which I won't use for anything because I never use pins. A couple of bookmarks, which are quite nice. I really like the art for this series, I will say that. And then on the back. And then these, I don't know what you would call these, just character art, character cards. It's this one, and then this one, and then this one. I got Dark Air by C.S. Pacat. This is the sequel to Dark Rise, which is her young adult historical fantasy about a boy named Will and his friends, who have to prevent the second coming, basically, of the Dark King. This one is set in Italy for the most part, and it was quite good. I feel like maybe the pace was a bit off for me, but I did like how it ended. In January, we had the re-release of Heartsong by TJ Klune. This is book 3 in the Green Creek series, which I have talked about so much because I love it so much. This installment is about Robbie, and it's sort of about a little bit about his past, but also his place in the Bennett pack. This, if you don't know what the Green Creek series is, it's about the Bennett family, basically, who are a family of werewolves who come to live in Green Creek, Oregon, and they sort of draw various humans in the town into their lives. I'm quite keen to reread this one. I have only read this book once in 2022, and it was my least favorite of the series, but I think that was because it was doing something at the start that I didn't like. I thought it was doing one thing, but it turned out it was doing something else. So I didn't like what I thought it was doing initially. And then once I figured out what was actually happening, I enjoyed it more. So I'm quite interested to reread this one and see how I feel about it the second time round with a full understanding of what's actually happening. And finally, The Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake. This is the third and final book in the Atlas series, which started with the Atlas 6. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition, which I got because the other books that I have in the series are the Waterstones edition, so I had to get the third one to match. It's quite pretty. It's got this like sprayed edge with a sword pattern on it. And these really nice, quite haunting end papers. Oh, the back one is different. Oh, look at that. So there's that there, see. Yeah, so this is a dark academia series about 6, they're basically magicians, mages, who get asked to join the Alexandria Society, which is a very exclusive group within the magical community, and people who complete this initiation go on to achieve extremely high-powered jobs and wealthy lives and that sort of thing. But the problem is there are 6 initiates and only 5 can make it through. And that's it. That's all the books that I acquired this summer. I hope you enjoyed getting to see them. Let me know if you've read any and any that you particularly enjoyed or anything that you're interested in. But in the meantime, I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye!